Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, civil servants in Zimbabwe put a halt to planned protests after agreeing to a 140% wage hike. But the hard-fought increase still leaves many earning less than €100 a month. Also, more mass graves are uncovered in Burundi. The grim discoveries reopen old wounds after decades of torment caused by brutal interethnic conflict. The country's Truth and Reconciliation Commission reckons it's found more than 4,000 sites since 2014. And getting around Lagos is set to become even more difficult as the popular but hazardous motorbike taxis and motorized rickshaws are banned. Critics say the changes will also stall the economy, including bike-hailing startups. We take a closer look. But first, civil servants in Zimbabwe have provisionally accepted a 140% pay hike, with a deal that put a possible strike against President Emerson Mnangagwa's government on hold. The pay rise will see the lowest paid workers get the equivalent of around €95 a month. That is still well below the poverty line for an average family of 5. The long-running negotiations have been happening amidst the country's worst economic crisis in over a decade. Civil servants have seen their salaries battered by inflation. Many survive by doing side jobs or relying on remittances from family members abroad. Ryan Truscott tells us more.
I mean, this was not what teachers wanted. 2 or 3 years ago, government teachers were earning around $500 a month. More senior teachers would have been earning more. Now, given the depreciation of the Zimbabwe dollar, the highest earning teacher after this pay rise will still only be earning the equivalent of around $200 at the street rate of exchange for the US dollar. The main teachers union, ZIMTA, says it's telling its members to do everything they can to deliver the public services required of them, in other words, to teach. There have been a lot of reports of teachers signing into work but not actually teaching their students. But I don't think that anyone believes that this is the end of the matter. If the Zimbabwe dollar continues to depreciate and prices continue to rise, I think teachers and other civil servants are going to be pushing for salary adjustments again very soon.
So in light of everything you've said there, a 140% hike will still see the lowest paid workers' salary sitting under €100 a month. How have people been getting by so far?
With difficulty, but also with a little help from family members abroad. We've just heard the latest figures from World Remit, the global money transfer service. It says that in Africa, Zimbabwe ranks as one of the top 5 countries receiving money from family members living outside the country. Zimbabweans on social media were commenting on this today and saying that this is just a sign of the country's deep economic problems. We do know that many civil servants won't actually be depending on their salaries alone to keep them going. Zimbabweans are inventive, hardworking. They'll whatever their jobs, they will have some kind of secondary income that they might have developed, like renting out a room in their house, for instance, or making cakes or giving private lessons. But that, of course, does make them less available for their government work, or in the case of teachers, their classes at government schools. And many families here, even those in full-time employment, do still depend on that money sent back by family members working abroad.
Ryan Truscott there for us in Harare. Now, another mass grave has been exhumed in Burundi this week. Authorities have uncovered thousands over the last 5 years or so, a grim reminder of the country's history of brutal conflict. Presidential elections are due in May, and some political opposition voices are accusing authorities of focusing only on the killings of Hutus, the ethnic group of current leader Pierre Nkurunziza.
Yet another mass grave has been discovered in Burundi. This one dates back to 1972. The Truth and Reconciliation Commission sent a delegation to the site. Since 2014, the commission has found more than 4,000 mass graves. The country has been racked by interethnic fighting since independence in 1962.
The law says we must exhume these human remains so that later, when investigations have been carried out to know the truth, We will be able to bury them in a dignified manner.
The head of the commission used to be the president of the electoral body. He supervised the controversial elections of 2010 and 2015. Both were won by current president Hutu politician Pierre Nkurunziza. Some opposition members say the authorities are only focusing on mass graves in areas where Hutus were killed. They say regions where mass graves of Tutsis are deliberately neglected ahead of the presidential election in May.
Just before the presidential election, the authorities want to show that the victims of killings in Burundi are always from the same ethnic group. Is that not a manipulation of history? Is that not for electoral purposes?
Last week, Nkurunziza confirmed he would not run for a fourth mandate. His party's candidate will be General Évariste Ndayishimiye.
Islamist extremists are suspected as being behind the massacre of at least 36 people in eastern DR Congo. Several villages around Beni were raided by the Ugandan ADF militia. The area has seen a surge in violence since last October. Hundreds of people are thought to have died since then. Clément Bonnereau tells us more.
Civil society organisations and local authorities have confirmed that 2 attacks took place in the region of Beni over the past 24 hours. The first attack took place on Tuesday afternoon in the village of Manzingi, where a group of armed men reportedly attacked villagers who were working in the fields. They followed them all the way to their houses and killed them one by one using machetes. There was another attack on Wednesday morning, this time in the nearby village of Eringeti, targeting a position held by the Congolese armed forces. So far, no group has claimed responsibility for these 2 attacks, but both civil society organisations and local authorities have pointed the finger at the ADF, the Allied Democratic Forces, which is an armed militia group with roots in Uganda and links to various Islamist groups. They have allegedly killed over 250 people in the region since November. These 2 attacks on Tuesday and Wednesday also come just 10 days after the Congolese army said that they recaptured the camp of Medina, which was the group's stronghold in the region. The Congolese army also saying at the time that they had killed 5 out of 6 of the group's leaders.
More Bonnereau there for us. Now, communities in Zimbabwe desperate for drinking water are being left with no choice but to collect from stagnant ponds and wells. Drought has seen public access to mains water in the city of Bulawayo cut for 96 hours a week. Nicolas Chemin has more.
This is what dams are currently looking like in Bulawayo, Zimbabwe's second city. It's the consequence of a terrible drought last year. Residents like Abraham Kavalanjila have no choice. They have to look for dirty water.
We have no option. Yeah, this water is dangerous. As you can see, just check. Someone did his rubbish here. There's nothing that we can do, you see. Yeah. But we still have to, because we need some water to use at home.
He then walks back to his home with his 3 sons.
We use this water here. We have to boil it first, and then we put it in the fridge. We boil the water so that we can purify it from germs, and we are able to use it for drinking and cooking.
City authorities shut down water supplies for 96 hours a week because of the fall in reservoir levels.
This will take me for maybe only 2 to 3 days. This is for drinking, this is for bathing. At the same time, there's no toilet water. How embarrassing.
The city has asked to declare Bulawayo a water shortage area to help unlock funding. It also says the long-term solution is the construction of a new dam 100 kilometers away to draw water from the Zambezi River.
Nigerian authorities have slammed the brakes on the vital but hazardous motorbike taxis and rickshaws known as Okada and Keke. They'll be banned from Lagos's streets from next month because of what officials say are the scary number of fatal accidents they cause. Their absence, though, could cause more traffic, chaos for those who rely on them to get around. Take a look.
In this sprawling city of 20 million people, for many, it's their main way to get around.
When I want to go to work, sometimes there might be traffic. And this keke and motorcycles are another alternative. They are fast alternative for me to get to work on time.
In Lagos, Nigeria, these kekes and okadas, as they are known, are everywhere and are a fast way to navigate around the city's notorious gridlock. But starting on February 1st, the state government is imposing a sweeping ban on the motorbike taxis, citing a number of fatal accidents in recent years. For drivers, the ban threatens a key source of income and a way of life often passed down for generations.
Some of our people, they reach 40 years, 30 years, 20 years for a year. And now if they say they ban Okada and they don't get any work where they are doing now.
The unemployment rate in Nigeria is 23%, and government officials have warned it could reach 30% this year. With Okadas, thousands of young men have found a way of making a living. Some worry the ban could have unintended consequences.
It will create another crime for the state. So let them at least benefit a little bit more. Let them create a job for them before they ban those things.
Lagos has tried to ban Okadas before from main roads and bridges, but enforcement was lax. This time, again, may prove a challenge for the government, with so many invested in this way to get around.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for joining us. Do so again. Take care.
Liberté, égalité, actualité.